It's like spring break for the judiciary. It's like they're just like, woo, let's go wild. It's been a long quarter of, I don't know, Donald Trump's been in office and now they're just letting loose. They're letting their hair down. They're opening up their robes. They're throwing back some beers. They're doing shots and they are just gone wild. It's like Daytona Beach. And the Supreme Court is not even immune. John Roberts is throwing in his 2 cents too, which is just the craziest thing we've ever seen. But what do you expect from a deep state that has no other? I mean, it really makes sense that all these judges are attacking because it's the only weapon the Democrats have left. They have nobody in the White House. They have nobody that can sign executive orders or pardons or order the FBI to go to Donald Trump's house and rifle through his wife's underwear drawer. They don't have anyone left. They don't have anyone that can send Donald Trump away or prosecute him for this or prosecute him for that. No, all they've got now is they've got some rogue justices in the district court level and on the Supreme Court who can do their bidding, but they don't have any they don't have power in Congress. They can't impeach Donald Trump or bring in articles of impeachment against the president. The Senate, forget about it. The Senate is about as powerful for the Republicans as the White House is. So all they have left are these rogue district court judges who are going to try to stop Donald Trump, like literally at every level. I mean, every time he does something, and it's kind of gumming up the works, and it's just getting really annoying. And we're going to get to all that here in just a minute. We're going to tell you about all the judges, and by my count, there's like 5 of them now. There could be more. We're going to have to go through. Tanya Chutkin is back in the news because she's being kind of an idiot. But anyway, we'll get to all of that here in just a minute. Also, Donald Trump continues to attack Canada as he brokers peace in Ukraine and Russia. He's going to get here's what's going to happen this week. Donald Trump's going to get a peace deal in Russia. He's going to get a peace deal in Ukraine, and then he's going to start a war with Canada. And I'm all for that. I'm not against endless wars. I like Donald Trump to be the peacetime president, but if we're going to go to war with anyone, forget Russia, forget China, forget Yemen at this point. We should probably put those Canadians in their place, and Donald Trump is fully on board for that as well. So we'll get to that here in just a minute. But first, I'd like to start with a couple of tidbits that I think are going to set the mood to really get you in a good mood. First of all is MSNBC having to issue an apology. Well, not really an apology. They basically said they misreported something, but they didn't apologize for it.
So last night, we reported on excerpts of an interview between the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and an Indian TV news network in which she said that Trump was good friends with a world leader. We said that world leader was Vladimir Putin, but the full interview shows that Gabbard was referring to Trump and Indian Prime Minister Modi. Clear that up.
Now, she didn't apologize for it. She said, hey, we said, with absolutely no factual backing or basis, we said that the leader that Donald Trump is good friends with, according to DNI Tulsi Gabbard, was Vladimir Putin. And they just made that up. That just fell into their narrative that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are buddy BFFs, and that Donald Trump is working on some kind of inside deal to deliver to Vladimir Putin everything that Vladimir Putin wants, including Ukraine. That's what the MSNBC, that's what all these media types, these liberal left-wing lunatics in the media, they're all trying to push. But the fact of the matter is that that's not true. And well, when we went back after reporting on the interview, we went back and actually, that's what she's saying. She's saying we reported on this before we even watched the interview. And then we went back and watched the interview, and guess what we figured out?
Before we go, though, last night we reported on excerpts of an interview between the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and an Indian TV news network in which she said that Trump was good friends with a world leader. We said that world leader was Vladimir Putin, but the full interview shows that Gabbard was referring to Trump and Indian Prime Minister Modi.
Now, what that proves, again, is something we all knew, that MSNBC does not care about facts. They don't care about what's actually happening. They just take a clip. They will twist it. They will turn it. They will spin it any way that they want. They will report it out of context. They will edit it as we all remember what happened with CBS and Kamala Harris. We saw how they edited her answers to make her seem more intelligent than she actually is. Now they got busted for it. They're going to have to write Donald Trump a big fat check. Plus, they could be risking some of their licenses. And let's not forget George Snuffleupagus, who accused Donald Trump of a crime that he was never found guilty of, and he had to pony up $1 million of his own, plus $15 million from the network, going toward the Donald Trump, what's going to be the most amazing presidential library ever, because of the number of people who have had to write big fat checks to Donald Trump. So anyway, listen, we've got all of that. We've got all of that now with MSNBC saying, hey, we didn't actually watch the interview that we reported on before we reported on it. And they didn't apologize, but at least they did correct themselves. Speaking of correcting themselves, Tampon Tim Walz I guess he's trying to, it's interesting to me that Tampon Tim is still trying to make himself a thing. Tampon Tim Walz is trying to make himself popular. He's trying to make himself, a candidate, I guess, for some future office. I don't know if it's going to be president or vice president. I don't know what he's angling for, but he's gotten a taste of that political spotlight and he wants more. So he's gone on, I guess it can only be described as like a comedy tour. And in this comedy tour, he is cheering on. He's cheering on attacks on an American company and American citizens who simply have made a consumer choice about a particular vehicle that they would like to drive. Watch this.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, and take out, just telling you.
Yeah, so there's Tampon Tim, and he's cheering, and he's rooting for the downfall of an American company, Tesla, an American company, which I should point out is employs American workers, creates jobs here in the United States of America, creates vehicles in the United States of America, is one of the largest vehicle creators or producers here in the United States of America outside of the big three. And, for until recently has been growing. There are so many people, by the way, probably in that audience that have Tesla stock in one of their mutual funds, don't even know it. And they're out there rooting for the downfall of Tesla stock. He's saying, I put it right on my phone.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone. They've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
By the way, when he first said 225 and dropping, I thought he was talking about his weight. But then I realized, that's not dropping at all. He wasn't the only one, though. There's other people that are excited about these Teslas being burned. There's other people out there, Democrats, liberals, who are like, you know what? Forget, I know that these are American citizens, and I know that it's their personal property, and I know that burning Teslas is dangerous. We know that burning Teslas is against the law, and we know that these are attacks not just on Elon Musk and Donald Trump, but on American citizens and American consumers. And Jimmy Kimmel's like, you know what? I don't really care. I'm going to encourage people to attack Teslas anyway.
Down other than the stock market for a change. Our co-president, Elon Musk, sent a SpaceX vehicle to bring the astronauts back, and when they landed, he fired them immediately upon landing. Tesla stock is way down, almost disastrously so. People have been vandalizing Tesla vehicles, new Tesla vehicles. Please don't ever vandalize Tesla vehicles. And so,
yeah, right there. He announces the stock price is way down. People cheer and applaud and scream and yell and clap. And then he goes, please, everybody, don't ever vandalize Teslas. And he gives that evil grin toward the camera with that pause, that show with that sarcastic pause, meaning just kidding. Continue on your mission to destroy the personal property of your fellow citizens. It's really sad what's happening, especially since, Elon Musk basically saved these astronauts yesterday. It was not just me saying that, it's everybody. These astronauts coming back down from Earth yesterday, man, what an incredible thing to watch. I don't remember the last time I've watched anything so incredible as these astronauts coming back down in fact, here's the astronauts coming home, landing, by the way, in the Gulf of America.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
Yay, Crew 9. back on Earth. And it was so exciting. And there it is, the big, beautiful Gulf of America.
And SpaceX Freedom.
Yeah, and SpaceX, the Dragon X, whatever they call it, is there, and it's floating around in the water, and the parachutes are all the Crew 9 returns. They're back on Earth, and that includes Butch and Sonny. How funny is it, by the way? Like it always reminds me of Butch and Sundance. It's Butch and Sonny. Sonny Williams, I think, and Butch Wilburn. It doesn't matter. Butch and Sonny. They're back on Earth. The astronauts that were abandoned by Joe Biden in space for 8 months for purely political reasons. And by the way, we have confirmation of that too. Elon Musk was on with what's his name? Who's that guy? Hannity? Yeah, Sean Hannity. And he talked about how he offered to help Joe Biden, but Joe Biden, because Elon Musk was buddy-buddy with Donald Trump, said no thank you.
Clarify on the issue of whether or not you had offered to send this rocket to space to rescue these astronauts sooner to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I heard somebody earlier today say, in fact, that didn't happen when I believe it did.
No, we definitely offered to return the astronauts earlier. There's no question about that. The astronauts were only supposed to be there for 8 days, and they've been there for almost 10 months. So obviously that doesn't make any sense. SpaceX could have brought the astronauts back after a few months at most, and we made that offer to the Biden administration. It was rejected for political reasons, and that's just a fact.
Yeah, there's no way to argue. That's just a fact. It was rejected for purely political reasons, and that is just a fact. Butch Wilmore, by the way, is the guy's name, Butch Wilmore. And Laura Ingraham had a guy on, Charles Camarda, I think his name. He's an astronaut, and they basically said, look, Elon Musk, who people are attacking, people are threatening, people are trying to kill. Elon Musk, who has his entire company's stock plummeting and people cheering it on. Elon Musk, they're burning his Teslas all over the country. Elon Musk has basically done an amazing service, not just to the country and to these astronauts, but to the entire space program and the future of space exploration, which we've basically abandoned for almost 15 years.
I was watching some of the other networks' coverage, because I do that, I flip around. And at one point, right in the middle of the action, when we were waiting for the astronauts to be pulled out of there, I mean, MSNBC wasn't even on it. They weren't even covering it. I actually tweeted it out or posted on X because I couldn't believe it. But this is a moment for America to celebrate, and also a big thanks to President Trump and Elon Musk for just saying, "You bet, let's get him home."
Absolutely. Elon Musk saved the U.S. space program. If it wasn't for Elon Musk, we would not be able to fly U.S. astronauts from U.S. soil to the International Space Station. There's no doubt about it. We stopped flying astronauts on Space Shuttle in 2011.
And Scott, we're going to have a press conference. We're going to dip into it in a few moments. But what about that? This idea that space travel at some point seemed like it was going to be beyond our reach, our capability. And yet it took a private industry with the intuitive sense and perseverance and engineering knowledge.
I don't know what she's trying.
Musk.
I don't know if she's trying to say something about Elon Musk being great, but you get the gist that Elon Musk is a great supporter of the United States, and he's a great dude, and he's doing amazing things, and he's helping astronauts come back from outer space when they were abandoned by Joe Biden, who denied or did refuse to accept his help for political reasons, and now they want to kill him.
It turns out when you take away people's, the money they're receiving fraudulently, they get very upset, and they basically want to kill me because I'm stopping their fraud, and they want to hurt Tesla because we're stopping this terrible waste and corruption in the government. And well, I guess they're bad people. Bad people will do bad things.
That's a mouthful right there. Bad people will do bad things, like they'll attack Tesla. Which, by the way, have you noticed how Elon Musk says Tesla? Everyone else says Tesla. I always thought it was Tesla, but if he's the owner of the company and he calls it Tesla, then I guess we should probably. Do you call it Tesla or Tesla? Tesla or Tesla? I would. You know what I would do? I would do like a. poll on X, but I don't know how to spell. How do you pronounce it? Tesla or Tesla? It doesn't matter. Either way, you know what we're talking about. The electric vehicles that all these lunatic liberals are burning up and trying to destroy because they don't like that Joe Biden spent money and that Elon Musk is telling Donald Trump, here's where all the waste, fraud, and abuse was. Let's put an end to it. And incidentally, it's not Elon's fault. It's Donald Trump who's saying we're putting it. Elon Musk doesn't have the authority to stop any program or fire anybody or close any departments. He goes to Donald Trump and says, hey, we should stop paying these people. We should shut down these buildings. We should shut down these departments. And then Donald Trump says, okay, we'll do that. Make it so. And so far, it's been going great. Well, except, of course, for the judicial interference. And this was one of the first. So we have a judge crisis in this problem. Our judges have just gone totally wild. Our judges, our judicial system is totally out of control. They see themselves now as vigilante jurists. They see themselves as the last great hope for the Democrat Party. You want to talk about lawfare? We thought lawfare ended when Joe Biden got booted out of office. We thought lawfare ended when Kash Patel took over the FBI and invited Dan Bongino to be his deputy. We thought that lawfare ended was when the DOJ swung open its doors and Merrick Garland walked out and Pam Bondi walked in. There's a lot of left-wing lunatic liberal judges that are out there in the district court level and the appellate level and, well, the Supreme Court level, and they're still wreaking havoc. They're doing whatever they can. This is the last line of defense for the liberals, and they are squeezing every last ounce out of it that they can. And one of the first was the judge who told Donald Trump that he could not. The judge had said, no, you cannot. You cannot. You have to. You have to continue to pay the USDA. In fact, here it is. This is from Andy Ogles. An Obama-appointed and lifelong Democrat who blocked Trump's travel ban in 2017. This judge literally peddled critical race theory as editor of the Harvard Law Review. Now he's trying to save USAID, which gives money to terrorists and radical LGBTQ plus propaganda. Impeach him. And then there's an article there's a point about the judge who's trying to make sure that Donald Trump continues to fund the USAID, even though he doesn't have to. And that is now going to court. Donald Trump was asked about that yesterday, by the way, on his interview with Laura Ingraham. Here's what he said.
You know what he should do? He should really look at where the money went. They don't ever want to do that. You know, the Democrats always talk about, our Constitution's been violated. The one thing they never talk about is, where did these billions of dollars go? They never want to look, because when you see where the money went and the scams, you don't even have to see anything. Just look at the heading and the scam that they've created. And a judge like him will never look at that. They'll just say, you want to, it sounds so nice. USAID, isn't it beautiful? But it's a whole big scam, Laura. And a judge like that is so bad for our country.
I mean, there's not just one judge like that. There's a whole bunch of these judges, too. Judges gone wild. Judges gone wild. It's not just this one judge and the USAID. There's a whole bunch of them.
You know what he should do?
There we go. There's a whole bunch of them who are taking the law into their own hands. In fact, it's and here's Charlie Kirk with another one. Now a district court judge ordering the U.S. military to continue enlisting mentally delusional transgender troops is justifying her ruling by quoting the musical Hamilton. This was the court appeal that refuted the new policy in the Department of Defense that transgenders can no longer serve until, they fix their issues. The court's opinion is long, but its premise is simple in the self-evident truth that all people are created equal. All means all, nothing more, and certainly nothing less. And then they go into the Obama transgender persons can serve. At the bottom here, you can see it says women were included in the sequel when passage of the 19th Amendment granted them the right. That is a direct line from Alexander Hamilton, the Alexander Hamilton musical, by the way, by Superlib Lin-Manuel, whatever his name is, Manuel. I don't know. You know the thing. So there you go. So they got two judges that are out there trying to do nasty. There's 4 total. Margaret Cleveland wrote today alone, 4 federal judges ordered A, Elon Musk to reinstate USAID workers. B, Trump to state or disclose when and where flights left with terrorists. C, reinstatement of transgender to military. D, reinstatement of Department of Education grants. But there's another one. Libs of TikTok reporting yesterday, U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, you remember her, We already know she hates Donald Trump and tried to put him away forever. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan just blocked the EPA from terminating $14 billion in grants awarded to 3 climate groups by the Biden administration. The order also blocks the EPA from recovering billions of dollars of funds, which are currently sitting in a city bank account. So now she's trying to stop and to stifle the Donald Trump administration as well. She's trying to stop and stifle the EPA. She's trying to stop and stifle the deregulation and the money that the EPA was able to recover. And she's doing it all again because she hates Donald Trump and because the judiciary is just the last line of defense for the lunatic liberals to try to do whatever they can to thwart Donald Trump's agenda to make America great again. Stephen Miller is not happy about any of this. He says currently, district court judges have assumed the mantle of Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, Secretary of Homeland Security, and Commander-in-Chief. Each day, they change the foreign policy, economic, staffing, and national security policies of the administration. Each day, the nation arises to see what the craziest unelected local federal judge has decided the policies of the government of the United States shall be. It is madness. It is lunacy. It is pure lawlessness. It is the gravest assault on democracy. It must and will end. And that was Stephen Miller. Really, I mean, being the deputy chief of staff in charge of Homeland Security and other things, Stephen Miller is going to have some pretty strong opinions about this. And of course, he does, not just on Twitter, but also when he spoke yesterday with Sean Hannity, he had this to say about the judges.
This is arguably, of all the statutes on the books concerning national security, this law arguably is the strongest law that exists in terms of delineating presidential power. And why is that? Because it doesn't affect American citizens, Sean. It doesn't affect Americans. It only applies to foreign citizens invading our country. So the president is operating at the apex of his authority as commander-in-chief to repel that invasion, to send the invaders out of this country. This gang, Tren de Aragua, doesn't just murder people, Sean. It tortures them. It relishes in inflicting pain and suffering on innocent civilians. And this judge, he wanted to take 250 foreign terrorists and set them free on American soil to rape and pillage and murder? And by the way,
crazy.
If you turn those planes back, what if there's a mutiny on those aircraft? What if the pilots are attacked or assaulted by the terrorists on that aircraft? The judge didn't care about the lives he endangered. This has to be shut down,
it's
Sean,
scary.
or we don't have a country. Bottom line, it has to be shut down.
Has to be shut down because there are all kinds of things. You know, when you're a judge and you're issuing these orders, he's right. If you turn the plane around, you could be inviting a mutiny. What happens when those criminals land back on the ground and the ground crew is not prepared? What happens when all of the law enforcement agents have left? All the law enforcement agents they've already pieced out for the night. They're back at home drinking beer, watching basketball, and all of a sudden these planes are landing with 200 violent criminals and gang members who could easily overtake the pilots and run out and do whatever else. It's ridiculous. It's horrible. It's anti-American. It's criminal. And when there's an elected official or a district judge or any kind of official who is not doing their job, who is derelict in their duty, or who is actively working against the interests and the safety of the United States of America and the Constitution to which they swore an oath, that person should be removed. That person should be removed. They should no longer be a judge. They should be, what's a good word for it? Impeached. That's a good word for it. And we actually have articles of impeachment thanks to Representative Brandon Gill. Representative Brandon Gill in the House of Representatives, he issued a resolution impeaching James E. Boasberg, Chief Judge, United States District Court for the District of Columbia, for high crimes and misdemeanors. Resolved that James E. Boasberg, Chief Judge, United States Court for District of Columbia, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and that the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate. Article of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives of the United States of America in the name of itself and of the people of the United States of America against James E. Boasberg, Chief Judge, because he ordered these criminal elements to return to the United States of America. And because he's wasting time and money and effort with all of these court hearings and these judicial reviews and these orders and these. He's trying to be the president of the United States, and he has no authority to do so. And that is definitely a problem for all of us. And Lauren Boebert apparently jumped on this. Lauren Boebert announces that she will bring an impeachment resolution against James Boasberg as well. Look, it's probably not going to pass because we know that you need 60 votes in the Senate to impeach any of these people. But there is something that can be done. Pam Bondi, according to Eric Daughtry from Florida's Voice, breaking, Attorney General Pam Bondi has issued a scathing court filing rejecting the notion from Judge Boasberg that the judiciary is superior to the president when it comes to foreign policy. The underlying premise of these orders, she writes, including the most recent one requiring the production of these facts ex parte today at noon, is that the judicial branch is superior to the executive branch, particularly on non-legal matters involving foreign affairs and national security. The government disagrees. The two branches are co-equal, and the court's continued intrusions into the prerogatives of the executive branch, especially on a non-legal and factually irrelevant matter, should end. Basically, she's telling this judge, you have no authority here. You're overstepping your boundary. This is not a legal matter. This is a matter of national security, and this is a matter of the president of the United States executing his office. There is no substantive reason why you should have jurisdiction over what Donald Trump does with military aircraft. What began as a dispute between litigants over the president's authority to protect the national security and manage the foreign relations of the United States pursuant to both a long-standing congressional authorization and the president's core constitutional authorities has devolved into a picayune, that's a good word, dispute over the micromanagement of immaterial fact-finding. In a series of orders, this court has requested the government to provide in detail, about the movements of aircraft outside of the United States and interactions with foreign nations which have no bearing on any legal issue at stake in this case. The court's pending questions relate to a comment by the court to a government attorney suggesting incorrectly that the attorney had the ability to divert aircraft. And this is exactly how you know that this has become really part of the ridiculous. And this judge should be 100%, if any of them should be disbarred or impeached and then probably disbarred, it should be this one, because this judge said to a lawyer, I'm giving you a verbal order to turn these aircraft around. Now, a low-level DOJ lawyer does not have the ability to tell the president of the United States to turn aircraft around. The order came from the commander-in-chief to, I guess, the Department of Defense or the Department of Homeland Security or whomever. And there is no lawyer at the DOJ who has the authority to walk into the White House and say, hey, this district court judge told you to turn these planes around. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's egomaniacal. It's narcissistic. It's criminal. And these judges are going to, well, let's just say they're going to find out eventually, because Donald Trump don't play like that. Donald Trump knows that these judges are bad, and he will go toe-to-toe with any one of these judges who is trying to usurp his authority and keep America, well, let's just say lousy with criminals.
I don't know who the judge is, but he's radical left. He was Obama appointed. And he actually said we shouldn't be able to take criminals, killers, murderers, horrible, the worst people, gang members, gang leaders, that we shouldn't be allowed to take them out of our country. Well, that's a presidential job. That's not for a local judge to be making that determination.
Yeah, and that is exactly what Donald Trump has said. And so he's going to continue to fight. He's going to continue to do his job, and so will Tom Homan. And he's going to use his Alien Enemies Act, which by the way, the Alien Enemies Act, as we just heard Stephen Miller say, is a defining piece of legislation. And it doesn't matter how old it is. This whole thing about the age of laws, like this law is from the 1700s. Well, as Tom Homan said, so is the Constitution of the United States of America. But we still use that as the cornerstone of everything we do in this country. Or some of us use it as the cornerstone of everything we do in this country. Others look at it as a big roadblock. They look at it as a speed bump. They look at it as something that just stands in their way of getting their left-wing radical agenda done. Again, it's very It's very troubling. Also, Laura Ingraham, she asked him the weirdest question ever. I don't understand. Laura Ingraham was in a mood yesterday. She was very combative. She was kind of talking over the president, and she asked him kind of weird questions like this one.
What would you say to that? Are there circumstances where you would defy a court order?
Well, I think that, number one, nobody's been through more courts than I have. I think nobody knows the courts any better than I have. I would say the chief judge does, but nobody knows them better than I have. And what they've done to me, I've had the worst judges. I've had crooked judges. I have judges that valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million because that benefited his case, because he wanted to see me convicted of something. I have judges that had relatives making millions and millions of dollars on the election, ruling on the election.
But going forward,
I had judges
would
that
you
were
defy
so
a court
corrupt.
order? Because that we all know that was outrageous.
I never did defy a court order.
And you wouldn't in the future.
No, you can't do that. However, we have bad judges. We have very bad judges, and these are judges that shouldn't be allowed. I think at a certain point you have to start looking at what do you do when you have a rogue judge. The judge that we're talking about, you look at his other rulings. I mean, rulings unrelated, but having to do with me, he's a lunatic.
He's a lunatic, that judge. All these judges are lunatic. They're all lunatics. They're left-wing liberals. And why is Laura Ingraham saying, would you defy a court order? First of all, Donald Trump would never admit on television, oh, yeah, I'm planning to defy court orders. He goes, no, you can't do that because we have a process in this country. But just because, and this is important, just because the judiciary is there to put checks and balances on the other branches of government, it doesn't mean that they themselves go unchecked. There are checks and balances for the judiciary. One of them is impeachment, and that is something that the House of Representatives should investigate fully and should execute on all of these judges and any other judges in the future who think that they have more power and prestige and authority than the president of the United States, because they don't. Otherwise, they would have been elected, and they can feel free to step down from their position as judge, this district court judge, if he wants to tell the ICE representatives or the military where to fly their planes and when. This ICE judge can step down, turn in his gavel and his robe, and he can go run for president, try to win, and then he can control all of these various different agencies. But until that time happens, he's not going to be able to control. He's not going to be able to control any of these agencies. It's Donald Trump's job, and Donald Trump does it very, very well. By the way, Steve Bannon wants Donald Trump. Steve Bannon. You know, I love Steve Bannon because whenever everything calms down or when everything gets to a good place, he just stirs the pot, right? It'll start boiling and then it'll come back down. And then Steve Bannon's like, you know what, let's crank up the heat one more time. Steve Bannon yesterday said that he believes Donald Trump will run for a third term, and also win a third term in office.
I'm a firm believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump. A man like this comes along once every century if we're lucky. We've got him now. He's on fire, and I'm a huge supporter. Want to see him again in 2028.
And obviously, anybody who doesn't like what you say but judges it as a function of a lack of intelligence doesn't know anything about you. I don't make that mistake. You're a smart guy. You know he's term limited. How do you think he gets another term?
We're working on it. I think we'll have a couple of alternatives. Let's say that. We'll see. We'll see what the definition. We'll see what the definition of term. We'll see what the definition of term limit is.
All right. Well, so you're talking about litigating this issue, because I don't want people to listen to our interview and say Bannon's cooking up an insurrection. Bannon is cooking up. You know what I mean? I want people to get a straight take on where your head is. What are you suggesting?
Chris, as you know, I've had greater long shots than this. When we supported President Trump after the election, I realize you don't believe the election in 2020 was stolen. We do. We fervently believe that. When President Trump went back to Mar-a-Lago on January 20th, 2021, he was the longest of long shots to return to the White House. We said that day in our podcast and doubled down having President Trump's back, that he was coming back not just to win the primary, he would win the White House, and we had to get organized and drive that victory and also start working on all the policies, what's called Project 2025 or the America First Policy Institute, but all those different think tanks that started putting in the policies that you're seeing today in what we call Flood the Zone or Days of Thunder or however you want to describe it. But this is many years in the making. So we've had greater long shots than Trump 2028, and we've got a lot of stuff we're working on there. We're not prepared to talk about it publicly, but in a couple of months, I think we will be.
Steve Bannon working furiously. He's got various different alternatives. He's got various different ideas. He's working behind the scenes, and he's like, you know what, we've had longer shots than this one. Donald, we got to figure out what term limit really means. What is the definition of term limit? And does Donald Trump meet the definition of term limit? So Steve Bannon's pet project is figuring out a way for Donald Trump to win a third term or an additional term or a next term or whatever it is, win the White House in 2028 so he can go for 4 more years. And of course, Chris Cuomo lying through his teeth going, I don't want you on here saying Donald Trump's going to start an insurrection. That's exactly what Chris Cuomo is hoping for. That's exactly the kind of viral moment Chris Cuomo's hoping to grasp from Steve Bannon. He's hoping Steve Bannon gives him some little tidbit that everyone's going to want to replay and share and comment on and post and email out to their friends. And Steve Bannon knows that too. That's why he wasn't going to give him. That's why he wasn't going to give it to him. But look, however it goes, there's going to be an election. And if these judges want to be president, if they want the powers of the president, there's only one way to do it. And that is to run, and win. And I don't think any of these judges, I think Tampon Tim has a better chance of being president in 2028 than any of these activist judges.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
Yeah, 225 and dropping. I thought if he wanted a boost during the day, he just threw back inhaled a package of Twinkies. That's just kind of how I see. That's just kind of how I see Tampon Tim. Did you remember? Do you remember his wife, Gwen? Gosh, she's a creepy, freaky woman. Remember, she'd be like, "Turn the page. We're gonna turn the page." And what does that look like? Bye. That was one of my. It's one of my favorite. I got to find that clip again because I kind of hope, and that's the thing, it's a when you do what I do for a living, it's a double-edged sword. You're like, man, I really wish these people would go away because they're bad for our country. But you're like, man, I wish these people would never go away because they're really great for the show. They're really great for social media. They're really great. It's a great opportunity. What I can do is I can take all these crazy lunatics out there, the Gwen Walzes, the Tim Walzes, the Kamala Harrises, the Joe Bidens. We can take all of these people and we can use them as content to drive traffic and create a following and create great podcasts and just laugh at them. I mean, it's really one of my favorite things to do is to laugh at these liberals, and then create some kind of podcast around it. But at the same time, for the benefit of the country, if they all go away and we never hear from them again, that's probably for the better. Incidentally, tonight at 8 p.m., I should say that if you're interested in learning how to laugh at liberals and use it to pay the bills like I do, I have another one of my fantastic master classes, which gets rave reviews. This is, I think, the third week in a row we've been doing this. Make $1 for every follower you have. We call it Dollars for Followers. And in this masterclass, I'm going to show you examples from my own content, my own creations, from my own business, and show you how you can create content. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to be political. You can be a farmer. You can be a seamstress. You can be a lawyer. You could be a bartender like AOC. It doesn't matter. Whatever your line of work, you can use your content to create cash flow instead of just getting thumbs up and likes and shares and followers and friends. You can actually turn your social media into a business, and instead of just posting for fun, you can start posting for funds. Now, like I said, this is tonight at 8 o'clock. It's an hour. It's probably one of the best, most interesting, most informative, and most lucrative hours you're probably ever going to spend online. It's better than anything on Netflix. It's only $17, and it could potentially change your entire life. So if you're interested, please go to dollarsforfollowers.com to register. Dollarsforfollowers.com. You've got till 8 o'clock tonight, which means, you've only got 7 hours left to register. Or you can click the link in the description of this video. I put it down there as well. Dollarsforfollowers.com. That's where you go to get all that information. Now, something else that Donald Trump was asked about by Laura Ingraham yesterday was Canada and his intense hatred for and continued animosity toward Canada. And Donald Trump let Laura Ingraham in on a little secret, something that I don't think a lot of people knew or that they didn't want to admit. But Canada and Canadians are, despite the stereotype that they're all very pleasant and helpful, They're nasty.
Look, I deal with every country, indirectly or directly. One of the nastiest countries to deal with is Canada. The people that, now this was Trudeau, the people that good old Justin, I call him Governor Trudeau, his people were nasty. And they weren't telling the truth. They never told the truth. You know that, they'd say, well, we don't charge. Well, they do. They charge tremendous. They charge tremendous. And if you look at dairy products, what they've done to our farmers, I'd go up to Iowa, I'd go up to different places, Nebraska, and they would always complain about Canada, how they get ripped off. Do you know that Canada has a 250% tariff? 250, nobody knows that. They charge us numbers that are crazy.
They're lunatic. They're crazy. Those crazy Canucks. They're charging us 250% tariffs. And the dairy farmers hate, they're our neighbor to the north. No, they're not. They're picking our pocket every single chance we get. And then they're smiling and waving and saying, hey, what's up, eh? Come skiing, eh? Come see our moose and check out my beaver and all that other crap. No, they're not. They douse themselves in maple syrup because they're trying to hide the fact that they're not sweet. They're bitter and they don't like us. And Donald Trump is like, look, the best thing that can happen is for them to be the 51st state because we're already paying for them anyway.
Canada was meant to be the 51st state, because we subsidize Canada by $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We have a lot of lumber. We freed it up, as you know, last week. We're freeing it up so that you can actually cut down a tree without being, given the death penalty. Because what these radical environmentalists have done to our country, but we freed it up. But we don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything. We certainly don't want their automobiles. They make a lot of millions of automobiles are sent in. I'd rather have them made in Michigan. I'd rather have them made in South Carolina or any one of our.
You're tougher with Canada than you are with some of our biggest adversaries.
Only because it's meant to be our 51st state.
And look at her, and she's sticking up for her. She said, wow, you're tougher on Canada than you are some of our biggest adversaries. Well, maybe Canada is one of our biggest adversaries. Nobody knows it. And Donald Trump's like, we give them all this stuff. We give them our milk. We give them our car. We don't need them for automobiles. We don't need their lumber. We don't need Canadian wood. We got our own wood. Wait, we got plenty of wood right here in the United States of America. Good old American wood. Nobody needs that Canadian wood, and it tastes like a goose poop probably. So the kid is like, no, we're not. Oh, and then he did something which this was interesting because I saw Donald Trump endorses Mark Carney. Now, Mark Carney is the America-hating liberal who took over and is the current prime minister after Justin Trudeau flaked and basically resigned and was forced out by his own people because, well, he was too weak to stand up to Donald Trump. So Mark Carney stands up there and he's like, I love Canada, eh? And we'll never be part of America, eh? And Donald Trump, you're never going to back down to you, eh? And we beat you at hockey, eh? And so the gloves are off, eh? And that was his whole thing. And Donald Trump's like, what? You know what? Donald Trump's like, I like that guy more than the other guy. And everyone was like, oh, Donald Trump just endorsed a liberal.
Isn't that going to make them more hostile to us and possibly
I'd rather deal with a liberal than a
for China closer to Canada? And that would really put us in a bind.
The conservative that's running is stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know him, but he said negative things. So when he says negative things, I couldn't care less. I think it's easier to deal actually with a liberal
because they're weaker. They don't have a spot. Of course, it's easier to Of course, Donald Trump wants to deal with a liberal. Look what happened to the last liberal he dealt with. Justin Trudeau flies down to Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump calls him the governor of the 51st state. He goes home. He cries because he's a liberal, and all of a sudden he's out. Donald Trump controlled him. Donald Trump owned Justin Trudeau. They always say Donald Trump is Putin's puppet. Justin Trudeau was Donald Trump's. Justin Trudeau was pointless to President Trump. So he treated him like the second-rate leader that he was. And the people back at home realized it and they kicked him out. Now they've got Mark Carney, and Donald Trump said, you know what? I'd rather deal with the liberal. Because what is Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party, the Canadian Donald Trump, if you will, is a guy by the name of Pierre Poilievre. And he's very Canada first. He's very, he's got the same philosophies that Donald Trump does, but he has them for Canada. So he's actually a stronger leader for Canada, and a stronger leader for Canada is worse for the United States of America. a stronger leader for Canada who would fight through these tariffs and, stand up to Donald Trump is actually not the kind of person that Donald Trump wants to deal with. He would much rather deal with the liberals. So all of a sudden everyone's like, Donald Trump just endorsed Mark Carney, the liberal. He just said, Pierre Poilievre, I don't even care. And that's really the long and the short of it. Laura Ingram's all concerned about who's going to be running Canada. Who cares? We're Americans. We're here in the United States of America, and Donald Trump is our president, and he is putting America first. Nobody should care who's running Canada. If they become a problem, we will deal with them. But having an America first attitude means you've got to let Canada go. Let them do their own thing. Let them run their own country. That's all we're asking. Donald Trump is like, maybe, you know what, they'll get a leader in there who can boost their economy and figure out ways to drop the tariffs and figure out ways to make more income and figure out ways to make themselves more self-sufficient so that we don't have to keep writing them a big fat check for $200 billion every single year in subsidies. We don't have to keep buying their cars because we're nice people. We'll buy our own cars and our own wood and we'll call it a day. And the Americans, the hardworking Americans will benefit because our economy will grow stronger. They won't be charged these tariffs and these excise taxes. And at the end of the day, they'll be getting stuff here in the United States of America, which will be better quality anyway. By the way, remember Chuck Schumer went on The View and he started to say things that were just ridiculous and stupid. And there was so much, everyone on The View was just sticking it to Chuck Schumer to his face. Sarah Haynes and Sonny Hostin and everybody else. Chuck Schumer, he had this other comment where he basically was making fun of Americans. Forget this, wanting to keep the money that they make.
And you know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, the land and water that I own, or my employees. They hate government. Government's a barrier to people, a barrier to stop them from doing things. They want to destroy it. We are not letting them do it, and we're united.
Okay, good.
Look at that, there he is saying these Americans, they make their own money and they go, I made my own money. No, you didn't. The government let you have that money. I built my own business with my own hands. No, you didn't. The government let you build that business and now you've got to pay the government back. They hate the government. They're trying to destroy their government. I mean, he's not too far off, but it's not a bad thing. No one's trying to destroy the government. We're trying to destroy the waste, fraud, and abuse in government. No one's trying to destroy the government. We're trying to whittle away at the government. We're trying to file down the massive, growth. There's like a corn, or not a corn, like what do you call it? What's the big thing of dead skin that you get on your toes that they have to like shave off with a razor blade and a file? Callus? Is that what? Yeah. There's a massive callus on the toe, on the big toe of American government. And we're trying to file it down so that it's a nice, clean, even toe. And all it does is it does what toes do. Toes are supposed to keep you upright. Toes, they're only there for one reason, and that is to help you stay balanced and keep you upright and keep you centered. They're not supposed to be the majority of, you're not supposed to have this big club foot with these massive calluses. And we're just trying to shave them down. We're just trying to make it nice and smooth. We just want 10 toes that aren't, we don't want to have to get special shoes or anything like that. Government's too big. Chuck Schumer says, no, you're trying to destroy it. It doesn't matter. Either way, Donald Trump's going to win. Donald Trump has the mandate from the American people, whether Al Green believes it or not. Donald Trump has the agenda created by some of the biggest experts, and he had 4 years to really work on putting together an amazing team. One of them, by the way, is Kevin Hassett, who said, look, you gotta, if you're betting against Trump, you're stupid.
Watching all the GDP nows, and they had a negative number because of the big trade deficit.
Exactly.
I went back and I used to work with your friend and my old friend Alan Greenspan, and he had a really, really simple real-time GDP model that he used all the time. He called it hours to output. And what you do is you just look at the jobs report and see how many hours did people work, and then you look at the normal relationship in past quarters between hours and how much GDP you get, and then you could take the 2 months of jobs data we get and give you a GDP number. And I went and I re-estimated this week the old Greenspan hours to output model, and it gave us for the current quarter 2.5% GDP. And so, is it possible that things are going to be rougher than that in the first quarter? Of course, because the data move around. But Alan Greenspan's favorite model back when I was a kid in the 20s, working at the Fed, it's saying about 2.5, and I think that's about the right answer now. So I think that, and if you look at all the auto production and industrial production, Maria, you and I have also been working on TV together for 20 years.
Yeah.
If we have a recession, one of the first things that goes down is industrial production, right? And capital spending. Capital spending is booming. Industrial production is booming. Housing, we saw yesterday, is booming because mortgage rates are down a whole percentage point because of the Doge savings and the way that's affecting long-term interest rates. And so there's a lot of positive news in the economy right now, and everybody's focused on the potential harm from tariffs. But what I'm seeing is visible gain from the threat of tariffs because everybody's moving their auto production back to the U.S. And there's huge capacity for that to go up. And I use the word capacity advisedly because the capacity utilization rate in autos is about 60% right now. When President Trump had a healthy economy last time, it was 80%. And now I think we're heading back there. I'll bet you by December, capacity utilization in the U.S. is back to 80%. And if we do that, we got to have a 3.5%, 4% growth this year.
I understood like 75% of that. I understood a little bit of that. I'm not going to lie. He has a much deeper economic intellect than I do, but he's smiling. And if Kevin Hassett is happy, then I too am happy. If Kevin Hassett is happy, then you know what? We should all be happy because that means that good things are on the horizon. And those good things who knows what those good things could be? Those good things could be a better economy, lower prices. In fact, the egg prices on Agriculture Day have collapsed. It's amazing. It's incredible to see just how quickly Donald Trump is reducing the prices of things that skyrocketed, despite the fact that we had to kill all of these chickens because of whatever virus, the virus, all that kind of stuff. Everything is back, and it's making America great again. Actually, that's not true. Not everything that's back is making America great again, because Dylan Mulvaney is back. Dylan Mulvaney has a brand new podcast. Dylan Mulvaney has a podcast, and I guess created a podcast intro to promote his /her /them's new podcast.
In the shower, on a walk, the Dylan Hour, feeling sweet, feeling sour. I feel nothing. The Dylan Hour. My couch is open, it's better than therapy. All you soccer moms, all your theys and thems, all your bottom boys, my bisexual femmes. Come one and all, disassociate with me. It's free. Grab it.
I'll be honest with you. When I thought this was, I'll be honest with you. I thought this was a Gavin Newsom podcast. When I first when I first watched it, I was like, "Oh, Gavin Newsom has a new intro for his podcast. This is Gavin Newsom." But apparently, that's not
a
it.
Drink or two or three. Okay. You have no friends.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough of that. Everybody's launching a podcast, folks. Everybody's launching a podcast. Oh, also, this happened earlier today too. There was a shooting at the CIA. Apparently, police and SWAT respond to armed gunmen at CIA headquarters hours after the JFK files were released.
Live shot of the headquarters of Central Intelligence in Langley, Virginia. That's in Northern Virginia. It looks like a police presence. There's some barricade up. I want to put that in the box.
Yeah, that is from Real America's Voice. So basically what happened was this gunman went to the CIA with a shotgun. I believe, pulled out, squeezed off a couple rounds. I believe the gunman was also shot. And that's all I know about it. But the JFK files being released yesterday, I'm going to be honest with you. The $80,000 of JFK documents, I didn't get into them too much today because nothing really, as far as I know, or as far as I have seen so far, has popped out that is like, whoa, that's incredible. Whoa, that's amazing. There was one document which I posted and then I got community noted for it because apparently it's an older document. Talking about how JFK Jr. was, potentially calling Joe Biden a traitor. Now, I knew Joe Biden was a traitor. So I guess you're right. There's nothing really new here. This is the document here. It says Federal Bureau of Investigation, United States Department of Justice, accompanying it, a handwritten, hand-printed letter dated blah, 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 blah. Dear Senator Biden, you are a traitor. and it was signed John F. Kennedy Jr. Now, this was from 1994, Washington Metropolitan Field Office, the FBI, as we said. And I posted this because everyone was posting it and I thought it was brand new. But apparently this was previously released and tweeted 5 years ago, part of a Freedom of Information Act request for documents that mention JFK Jr. These are not the JFK assassination files that the OP was leading you to believe. Then there were other ones about, potential CIA involvement, which again, I thought we all knew. So I'm still waiting for, I feel like there's somebody out there right now, not Project Veritas, but OMG or somebody, they're going to go through all of these things and they're going to file the full report. And look, I mean, we've waited this long. We can wait a little longer. I did see somebody say, hey, by the way, I read all the JFK files and spoiler alert, he dies at the end, which was, factual, I guess you could say. But again, I don't believe that there's anything in those files that I don't already believe or that I don't already know or that is going to change anything about our course forward. And that's why I didn't spend way too much. I'm still waiting for the Epstein files because here's the thing. The Epstein files, they probably involve people who are still alive, still in government, still making decisions, still in some way, shape, or form compromised, could potentially be being blackmailed. There's so many people in the United States government right now at the federal level who could be implicated by the Epstein files, embarrassed by the Epstein files, ruined by the Epstein files, and therefore they will make and do things to keep those Epstein files quiet. There's so many people at that level that I have to believe that their release would be much more pertinent or have much more of a direct effect on my life than anything in the JFK files. Because as we've heard before, most of those people now, they're all dead. Most of the people in the JFK files, they're all gone. And so really it doesn't matter at all that those files are released, because it's not going to affect anybody's life who may be implicated or who may be mentioned in those files. Anyway, that's basically where we are right now. We have judges gone wild. We've got JFK files that are released. We've got all kinds of problems with Canada and Ukraine and oh, that was the other thing. Yesterday, Donald Trump had he had a couple meetings. The first thing he did was he had a phone call with Vladimir Putin. And the phone call with Vladimir Putin, the whole idea or the role of Vladimir Putin was to talk about the ceasefire agreement, because this ceasefire agreement that Marco Rubio and Mike Waltz went and negotiated with Ukraine and the Ukrainian foreign minister, it was for a 30-day ceasefire immediately, and it was the beginning of the end of the war. And Russia immediately said, no, not yet. We're not going to do that. And so Donald Trump had a phone call with Vladimir Putin. And he said, it was a great call, basically.
We got a readout of your call with Vladimir Putin, and it was a fairly optimistic take. Vladimir Putin agreed to a ceasefire immediately on energy and infrastructure, right, but not to a 30-day ceasefire. Tell us what happened.
Well, you have a situation where you have a lot of guns pointing at each other foolishly, because it would have never happened if I were president. That was not a war that was supposed to happen. And it did happen. So that's where we are. And right now, you have a lot of guns pointing at each other. And a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know. They have encircled about 2,500 soldiers. They are nicely encircled, and that's not good. And we want to get it over with. Look, we're doing this. There are no Americans involved. There could be if you end up in World War III over this, which is so ridiculous. But, strange things happen. And I think we had a great call. It lasted almost 2 hours. Talked about a lot of things and toward getting it to peace. And we talked about other things also.
And 2 hours. I mean, they talk about, I remember the Tucker Carlson interview with Vladimir Putin. You may remember how long that interview was and how much and how in depth they went into how much in-depth information there was about Russian history. I think that, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little shocked. I'm a little shocked that they only spoke for about 2 hours, because they both have a lot to say. President Zelensky also received a phone call from President Donald Trump, and Donald Trump went on Truth Social and said, just completed a very good telephone call with President Zelensky, which, by the way, do you remember? Every time I hear Donald Trump say he had a call with Zelensky, I get these flashbacks to Impeachment 1.0, because that's how it all started. Vladimir Zelensky won the election. Donald Trump called him to congratulate him. And all of a sudden, that was it. Whistleblowers and quid pro quos and Mueller reports and no collusion, no obstruction. It was like the beginning of the end. So every time Donald Trump picks up the phone to call Zelensky, I'm like, no. But then I remember we still have a slim majority in the House of Representatives. Anywho, Donald Trump just completed a very good telephone call with President Zelensky of Ukraine. It lasted approximately 1 hour. Much of the discussion was based on the call made yesterday with President Putin in order to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their requests and needs. We are very much on track, and I will ask Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz to give an accurate description of the points discussed. That statement will be put out shortly. So Donald Trump talked to Vladimir Putin, talked to Zelensky, is actively working on ending this war, is actively working on bringing peace to Eastern Europe, which is something he's always claimed he was going to do. He's actively working on making sure that there is no American involvement, that there is no NATO membership, that there's going to be nothing at stake for the United States of America and everything to gain, meaning we're going to get our $300 billion back in the form of some kind of precious metals or rare earth minerals that are plentiful in Ukraine in exchange for helping them rebuild and helping keep them safe for the get-go. Again, an amazing deal that everybody should want. But of course, you got some strong personalities and you've got some people that are trying to save face, and nobody can walk away looking like they ceded anything they didn't want to, even though that's exactly what's going to happen to Vladimir Zelensky. That's exactly what's going to happen to Vladimir Zelensky here in the end. But it's an exciting day. There was something else that happened regarding 2026, which I wanted to bring to your attention regarding J.D. Vance, because we talked even yesterday about J.D. Vance and what's going to happen with J.D. Vance, and will J.D. Vance be the guy? Will J.D. Vance be the one moving forward? And J.D. Vance apparently has been placed in charge. Let me see if I can find it here. J.D. Vance has been placed in charge of 2026. And I don't think I retweeted it. He's been placed in charge of 2026 and trying to grow the Republican majority, because the biggest problem the Republicans have, or the biggest problem I think that Republicans have, is that they will come to a majority, or they'll win something big like the White House. They'll win the Senate. You know, they'll hold the House of Representatives. They'll win a bunch of gubernatorial races. And then they'll be like, okay, we're in charge now. But that's not how it works. It's a continued knockdown, drag out battle every single day to make more Republicans, to convert more Democrats, to defeat more Democrats, and to not only maintain, but to expand. The maintenance is the first part. Yeah, we got to keep the White House for sure. Now, when you look at the crop of Democrats that they're throwing out there, AOC, Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, it seems like we're okay. It seems like we already have a leg up in that department, knock on wood. But then you look at the Senate, and the Senate, okay, things are looking good. We may be able to pick up a couple more seats. And if we get a 55-seat majority, that is almost a supermajority in the Senate, especially if we maintain the White House. But then you got to look at the House of Representatives. And the House of Representatives could be the roadblock that stops everything. And there are a lot of question marks in the House of Representatives, like, for example, what's going on with the Wisconsin Supreme Court on April 1st. And on April 1st in Wisconsin, if the Democrats win the Supreme Court, they will gerrymander the districts. They will rewrite the entire congressional map, and the Republicans will lose seats, therefore losing the House. That's what's going to happen unless in Wisconsin on April 1st, the Republicans manage to win the Supreme Court battle there. And this is a battle that the Democrats have sunk millions and millions and millions of dollars into. And if they are successful, they don't care about the Wisconsin Supreme Court. What they care about is the House of Representatives. So if it means pouring millions of dollars into a Supreme Court race in a state, in a swing state, so that they can rewrite the districts, that's exactly what they're going to do. And they'll be successful, which means the Republicans have to win in Wisconsin and then win a stronger majority across the board. We need to win back some of these blue districts. We need to maintain, which is always difficult in a midterm election, but then we need to make sure that not only do we maintain, but that we are expanding our numbers so that we have more solid Republican votes in Congress. We also need Republicans who are going to vote the right way for things and not the wrong way. We need Republicans who are going to do what is best for the people that elected them and not what's best for themselves or for their, financial futures. We need Republicans who are going to be able to support each other. In fact, I'll be honest with you. I'm curious to know why Republicans aren't out there doing more to get more Republicans elected. Kat Kamak, for example, in Florida's District 3, she actively works and funds and schools and coaches and mentors. And she goes out there, she finds candidates for races. She teaches them what to do, how to do it, gets them funding, and helps them campaign, promotes them actively so that we can grow our numbers. And it works great. And there's a couple of others. There are some that you never hear from because they don't care about that, but they should be on the campaign trail all the time. If there's a Republican congressperson who feels like they're safe, maybe they're in a blood red district, maybe they don't have a primary challenge, maybe they're doing something right, they should be out there looking around going, okay, where can I help? Where can I campaign? If I don't need to worry about my own seat, whose seat can I go help us pick up? Where can I go and do some interviews? Where can I go and do a rally? Who can I help make phone calls for? There are all kinds of ways to use your political clout to grow political clout for the entire party. And there's so many of these people that just aren't doing that. I, however, by the way, would be more than happy to help campaign for any and all conservatives looking to get a seat in the House of Representatives and grow the power of the Republican Party and grow the footprint of conservatives, MAGA Republicans in the GOP and in the House of Representatives of the United States of America. Also, by the way, since I think, you know what? And people are, it's so funny because I post online all the time about how horrible my congressman is and how he needs to be primaried and how he's just, just the work like that. Nobody. And yesterday I told you, I've been talking to a lot of Republicans. Nobody likes the guy. It's weird to me that I don't know how he ever got elected anyway. 5 times. I mean, I have some idea, but the fact of the matter is, now that I've been talking to people and now that I've been investigating and looking at it, it's really interesting to see just how many Congress people there are that you've never heard of, that you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they stand for. You don't know what they vote for. And my guy's one of those. You never hear from him. There was an article just the other day. There's now a petition to try to force him to do a town hall meeting because he refuses to meet with constituents. He refuses to do town hall meetings. If you call his office, you don't get a call back. If you send him an email, you get some kind of boilerplate response from his office. He never does interviews. You never see him out and about. He never takes questions from anybody. He's the least transparent congressperson there is. And what we need now is more transparency, because the more transparent you are, the more willing you are to tell your constituents and your voters, hey, here's what I did today, the less likely it is that you're doing something shady. Because the people that don't talk, the people that hide, the people that don't answer the phone, and the people that don't do town hall meetings are the people that don't want you paying attention to them because they're doing something that they don't want to draw attention to. I, however, would be in your face every single day. You would get so sick of me. You'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe we elected this guy. He's in my face. He's always on my phone. He's always sending me emails. He's always saying, here's what I did today for you. But that's what I believe Congress should be. And there's a lot of Congress people that do that. There's a whole handful more who don't. And those are the ones you have to worry about. Listen, coming up later today, do not forget, this is going to be fantastic. 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time, Dollars for Followers, the masterclass. Make $1 for every follower you have. $1 for every follower you have. All you have to do is follow my 3-step process, which I will share with you tonight at 8 p.m. You must register. There's a small registration fee of $17. Used to be $97. You're saving $80. That's my gift to you. $80. It's $17 for tonight. If you would like to join us, that is fully refundable. If you don't believe you get $17 worth of value from my Dollars for Followers masterclass, I will, of course, refund all your money because I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it to help you make some money. Sales, content, social media techniques I use to make at least $1 for every follower. I'll take you through all 3 parts. Tonight at 8:00, it's a Zoom call. It's fantastic. We'll do some live content audits. We'll do some profile transformations. We will take your content. We'll put you up there live if you want. We'll take your content and we will make it 10 times better than it is. We'll get you 10 times the reach, 10 times the following. And then, of course, my goal is 10 times the revenue as well. Go to dollarsforfollowers.com. Fill out the registration form. hit complete, and then follow the directions. You'll be in. And I can't wait to see you. There's a link in the description of this video if you want to go. Or the other thing you can do is you can just go to dollarsforfollowers.com. dollarsforfollowers.com. In the meantime, thank you everybody for watching today. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Hit like, hit the notification button, thumb it up, share it with whomever you want. If you're listening to the podcast, you have to subscribe right now, because we've got a long way to go. We got a lot to keep fighting for. And we're going to need to stick together. We're going to need to stay energized. We're going to need to stay enlightened. We're going to need to stay empowered. We're going to need to stay on our game. We need to make sure we have each other's backs. And we're going to make sure that we are together stronger than they are, and that we continue to grow our numbers. More Katriots, more patriots, more conservatives, more America first, liberty loving, freedom defending Katriots than you could shake a stick at. And you better not shake a stick at us, because we will fight. We will fight and we will win. And we will continue to fight so that we can continue to save the Republic. Very exciting times we all live in. Listen, hopefully I'll see you at 8 o'clock tonight for the Dollars for Followers Masterclass. Again, there is a link in the description of this video right now. We also have an after party coming up here in just a minute if you're a member of the Katriot Club. So if you are a member of the Katriot Club, we will see you in the after party which begins in 3 minutes.